Greetings, fellow colonists from all over the Gigaverse. This is Rendog coming at you in our very last episode from the HermitCraft Season 10 server. We're kicking things off today, my friends, one more time from GIGACORP Colony HC-10. And as the facility manager of this place, I am delighted to announce that I've managed to squeeze one more GIGACORP build into the season. And it looks a little something like this. It is the GIGACORP ECC-1, the Energy Core Conduit. And this amazing new structure that I've been working on over the last couple of weeks is designed to provide power to our colony. The last piece of the puzzle that we needed to build to make sure that whenever anybody visits this base from anywhere out there in the Gigaverse, the story of the base will tell itself. And, well, there was one little piece of the puzzle missing. We have spent the season creating a bunch of liquid sulfur from squirter pods, and we needed to find a way to turn the liquid sulfur into energy for the colony. And that's exactly what the ECC-1 does. And if we take a quick look at the blueprint for this bad boy, we will see that it is designed to convert liquid sulfur into high-density energy to provide power to an established GIGACORP colony. The ECC-1 is also used to transport deatomized materials between facilities at high speeds. And yes, we had to get one more blueprint done by the amazing Sanastratus, because, I mean, we can't leave this season without at least one more blueprint. So I hope you enjoyed that one. I absolutely love it. Sanastratus smashed that particular blueprint out the park. And just love the fact that the ECC-1 is connected to the tiny, cute little Giga hut at the very bottom there of the blueprint. That turned out so great. And, well, I just want to take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to Sanastratus and to all of the other amazing artists that came together to help make my Season 10 what it turned out to be. And for those of you guys who've been wondering what has happened to the Genesis block, if you all remember, all the way back in episode 7 or something, we went and dug out the block at 0.0.0. There it is, in my GigaSafe. And, well, we cannot end this series without at least tying that thread. And, well, this structure over here is very important when it comes to the Genesis block, and I'm going to tell you all about it in this episode. But I thought, why don't we spend a little bit of time going through the base one last time together. This is going to be my last day on the server, everybody, and I would like to spend just a little bit of time going through the whole base on my own, talking to you guys about it, and it's going to be a whole bunch of rambling and umsing and ahsing, and not a very professional video, no doubt, but as this is going to be the last time that I spend any time here, I want to make the most of it. You also may have noticed there's been quite a lot of detail changes made to the base over the last couple of the weeks since we were last together here on YouTube. I've been working really hard over on my Twitch channel, getting the base ready for the world download. And even though I am not 100% happy with it, I think it's 99% finished. No Minecraft base is ever finished. Let's be honest with ourselves. And, well, I've got the base to a place where I'm actually very, very happy. There's nothing else I want to do here. No further blocks I want to place. And I am very happy and honored to be able to deliver this space to you guys out there. Now, we're going to start all the way back here, at the very back of the base. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the walls. The walls, which we erected many, many months ago, are a very important part of any GIGACORP colony. And that's because over time, a colony gets overrun by multiple alien species that will eventually do some very real damage to any planet that GIGACORP lands on. And, well, these little fellas over here, known as space rats, they're one of the things that start to overpopulate any GIGACORP colony. But number two, these are the very dangerous things for any Minecraft world. They're known as mytreliums, and they are half tree, half fungus. And the reason they arrived here in this base is because we brought them here when we landed on HC-10 all of those months ago. Eventually, these mytreliums grow into these massive, blooming biological structures, and they start to drop a whole bunch of biological matter to the ground, which converts it into this very slimy mycelium type of material. And, well, the particles. There's particles and spores everywhere. very bad for the lungs in the long term. Luckily, the visor that a GigaCorp scientist is given whenever you land on a new planet, it's got some sort of respiratory device / pollen filter on it, so we don't mind being in the spores and in the particles, but over the course of time, a planet would eventually start to choke on these spores that these myceliums are coming from. We'll talk a little bit more about where those myceliums come from in a moment. But first, let's carry on walking through here. You might have noticed we've got our shaders on for today. These are the Giga shaders. The visor allows us to see reality in a much higher detail level, and mostly so that we can start to identify where the spores are. As scientists, we need to make sure that these spores are kept under control, kept within the boundary of the walls. And it's very, very important that we do as little damage to any planet as possible when we land. And, well, the reason for that is mostly due to this ship over here. We blame all of this overpopulation of myceliums and space rats on this amazing ship. It's called the JME. And whenever we venture forth into a new planet in the Gigaverse, we do so in this industrial GigaCorp truck. And within the nooks and the crannies and the screws and the bolts of these ships are the spores of myceliums that have been collected from other planets that the truck has visited before. And that's how the spores eventually arrive on new planets that we visit. And that is why we build the walls, to keep the myceliums in. And as you can see over the course of the last year and a half, myceliums have sprouted everywhere. They have taken over the colony completely. They're starting to creep up against the walls of the colony, trying to break out. And it is our responsibility as GigaCorp scientists to keep those myceliums deep inside the colony for as long as possible. And of course, this is where it all began, in the JME Gigatruck. Although the timeline of my series didn't really follow the Gigatruck landing first. We actually built our house first. But in the lore of this colony, we landed on HC-10 in this Gigatruck, right here in this position on the server. And we started to build our colony from there on out. Of course, we awoken from cryostasis in the Hermits Deep Space Transport Freighter. Ah, yes. There's more lore about that too, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit later. But for now, this is going to be the last time that we come into the JME. I've had a lot of good times in here, hanging out with Scar and Sausage and many other people, just chatting nonsense and talking about nerdy Star Wars stuff. But rarely, when it comes to conceptualizing what the idea of GigaCorp eventually became, this has been a very important part of the entire system. Ah, yes. We have a malfunction here in the JME exit chute, but that's not new. This thing has fallen apart at this stage. It was built in the 1980s, okay? It's been around the Gigaverse quite a lot, so it's starting to fall apart a little bit. But yes, in the lore of the colony, this is where it all began. We landed on the planet in the JME, and as a scientist, the first thing that we needed to do, of course, was to create a habitat in which to live. And that was what we built over here. The Giga Hut. Our first tiny little house. And, well, it is very nice to see the colony at night right now, actually. We can almost feel the energy coming from the ECC-1. Ooh, I've just realized, too, that the firefly bushes actually sound like an energy line or something, right? They sound like electricity or something. That's really cool. In fact, I've buried close to 100 of these bushes all over the base. So there are particles everywhere and the buzzing of electrical energy everywhere too. But yes, anyway, this is, well, the standard issue GigaCorp Giga Hut, where any scientist will spend their first couple of days on a new planet. Nice, cozy little place where we can brew our potions and cook our food and produce all the things that we need to enhance our colony. And it comes with a patented whoosh-whoosh door, of course, which was one of my favorite things that I made this season. It just turned out so nicely and really helped to solidify my position in the sci-fi genre this season. I totally loved it. And, well, across the way from the Giga Hut was our very first storage structure. The hangar bays, I think, is what we called it. And, well, it was a place where we stored our items in the very, very beginning of the season. And it came with its own little command center, a place where we could monitor the goings-ons of the colony on the map. And wow, this map needs to be updated. This is a very old version of our base. But yes, all of the good stuff was happening over here. We attempted to keep track of our tasks, but, you know, when you're a scientist in the colony, you're chilling, you're not worrying too much about work and jobs and whatnot. There is no ways we are not poofing our way out of this hangar bay, everybody. This is one of the funnest things in the entire base. We just need to make sure we refill this thing. I tell you what, even on the last day in the colony, there's still maintenance work to do, everybody. It never freaking ends, I tell you. We're always got stuff to do around here. But yes, after the hangar bay was made, of course, the colony started to work toward producing facilities that would make it a lot easier for us to actually continue building the base. We made this massive giga-smelting machine over here, which works fantastically well. You chuck everything you want to smelt in here, and eventually gets cooked up there automatically and lands up down here via this very visible chute. All very wonderful. I think I go into a lot of detail about each of the builds in my episode 50. So if you want to look more into each of the builds, I recommend going to look at that video. But I want to show you one of the things that I've recently finished off camera, or at least not on the YouTube channel yet, and that's this little area here. We made another little sulfur pool on stream and planted a few more myceliums here, and we've got the power cable coming from the hangar bay, from the conduit, of course. And this just all looks really cool. I think it's filled this space quite nicely. Because, of course, all the way at the back of the base, we have some very useful facilities indeed. This is a creeper farm that makes gunpowder for us, and then this makes sugarcane, and this facility is the fuel for our jetpack. The standard issue GIGACORP jetpack requires fuel, and that comes from these two facilities. And, well, this was one of the most important facilities at the very beginning of the season. It is the M1 mud maker. And this machine was designed to not only make mud for me, but it ended up making mud for False and Tango and a whole bunch of other hermits too, which is very great indeed. And in this part of the colony, there are a lot of really cool things to see. Lots of crazy foliage going on. At the very back of the hangar bay, we have another mycelium grove having taken over this entire area here, looking very, very crazy. And of course, infested with space rats. Wherever you look, there is a space rat roaming. And, well, the more the myceliums grow and drop their detritus all over the base, the more the space rats eat it and the more they populate. And I'm not too worried about the space rats, but what I am worried about is this alien species known as a Craig. And, well, this is the reason why we build walls around GIGACORP colonies. You see, these mycelium specimens, they are, despite the fact looking like very primitive sort of trees, they have insane amounts of biometric energy within them. So much so that eventually the biometric energy within their cores consolidates into a biometric consciousness. And that is exactly what this is. It is a Criclium, the final form of the mycelium. And at night, the Criclium spawns these terribly scary, yet not that scary, kind of cute actually, alien species known as Craigs. And they will do damage to a planet. And, well, this Craig has been contained within a laser wall to make sure that he doesn't do damage to the ongoing research in the colony. But, yes, over time, if any of these myceliums get beyond the walls, the planet is doomed. So, yeah, Craig, you stay in there, dude. You stay in there and you look after the space rats, okay? They're chilling. Now, speaking of invasive alien species, let's have a quick chat about the space rat. There is one chilling in the engine of the JME, and that is exactly how they got here in the first place. They tucked themselves into the warm cables and engine-y bits of this spaceship, and when we landed on this planet, they soon found themselves in a nice new home with an abundance of food being dropped by the sprouting myceliums and, of course, the squirtopods that have also blossomed across the land. And, well, wherever we go in the colony, we will see space rats in every single corner, pooping all over the place and living their best little space rat life. We're not too worried about them. You know, they actually have a pretty important purpose for any self-sustaining GIGACORP colony. That's because eventually, when the scientists get a little bit bored and they want to spend a bit of free time away from doing scientific things, they build themselves a scootball field. And that's exactly what we got over here. It's basically soccer in space, and guess what? A space rat makes an absolutely perfect soccer or football that you can play, and GIGACORP scientists love coming over here on their day off and playing a little bit of scootball. Some recreation as a reward for all of the hard work that they do within the colony itself. Now, that pretty much covers this side of the colony. This is the first side of the base that we started working on when we first got here. And, well, you may have noticed that the folification of this colony has gone absolutely nuts. We've got alien plants left, right, and center. The place is getting overgrown. We need to get some sort of a lawnmower around here at some point to cut this down. But most importantly, the squirtopods have rarely started to take root in the colony. And as a scientist here, we love to see that because these squirtopods are vital to any colony. In fact, without them, we would not be able to eventually create the ECC-1. Because as you can see, a squirtopod starts in this sort of ripened phase after it grows up from a sapling, and eventually it becomes an adult squirtopod that looks like this, and those adult squirtopods basically eject liquid sulfur, which are collected in natural pools, and then the scientists will build these collection pipes to suck up all that liquid sulfur, and eventually, once the final build of the colony is created, once the ECC energy conduit is made, that sulfur will be pumped into the ECC itself. And that liquid sulfur is then converted into very high density energy, which is then pumped throughout the colony via these really cool looking energy cables. And what I've tried to do here, we can talk a little bit about this now before we head over to the other side of the base. What I've tried to do here is tell the story of the power unit without having to really say anything, right? So it should be fairly obvious that this is the main power cable coming out of the ECC-1, which goes into the GigaHut, and then the cable sort of runs underground and then comes out again here to give power into the hangar bay. And if we go all the way over to the other side of the base, we can see that those cables extend themselves from building to building, and so on. And every single building in the colony has its own connection to the ECC via this single cable over here. And I think that's really, really cool. It's also added like something unique to the build that I think was kind of missing. As much as I love this base, I did feel that there was just one thing missing, one final piece of the puzzle that I needed to finish. And I think these power cables do that very nicely. They also act to answer a question that has always bothered me, not only in Minecraft, but I suppose in the lore of this base. And that question mostly revolved around the ender chest. I always wondered to myself how this ender chest works, I suppose. And I suppose in the lore of Minecraft, it goes to like the void somewhere, and that's where it's stored and whatever. But in the lore of GigaCorp, we are going to use the ECC-1 as the answer for how we transport items around the base at high speed. Instead of carrying tens of thousands of tons of stuff around in our backpacks, we use the ECC-1 to deatomize material and send it via these cables to the different facilities within the colony. So if you can imagine that, I don't know, there's like a terminal in each of the facilities, right? And we can access that terminal and say we need 10 stacks of stone or whatever. The ECC will deatomize the stone. That is, it collects from the storage unit that we will see in a second, and then sends that stone via these cables to wherever it needs to go. It also helps to explain one of our other facilities known as the Gigaplex. Of course, this facility here was one of the most important things that I made for us. It is our stonemason trading hall, where I got the tens of thousands of blocks of quartz that I needed to finish this base. And I guess in the lore, these traders are producing these materials and then deatomizing them into the storage facility. And I think that kind of all links up quite nicely in the lore. So yes, the ECC-1 doing double duty, power and material transportation across the colony. So it took us about 8 months to get to this position here in the base, minus the ECC-1, of course. But the next half of the base came in the second half of the season. Because if some of you guys can remember, all of this land here didn't actually belong to us. We had to claim it. We had to extend the size of the walls to start to incorporate some of the other builds that I wanted to put in here. And one of those builds is the spaceport. Any colony in the Gigaverse, of course, needs somewhere where transport ships can land. And that's exactly what this thing is. A giant spaceport thing upon which now stands a glorious Rendog statue. Of course, I had to replace the big statue with the ECC, but yeah, really loved how the spaceport turned out. It, again, tells the story without having to say anything, right? This is where all the traffic comes from the universe out there, and it lands over here. And it was a great chance to do some really cool and unique terraforming below it. And as you can see, there's just so much detail now in these groves. And I really wanted this place to feel alien and not sort of realistic or somewhere where we might find on Earth, or like any other Minecraft build that we've ever done before. And I worked really hard on bringing this sort of alien landscape to life. And wow, there are so many space rats on this side of the colony. It's crazy. And yeah, one of my favorite parts of the base now is this final little area that I've been doing on stream. And this, to me, in my mind, is what a GigaCorp colony eventually looks like. Completely flooded by sort of alien species of plants. Maybe the alien species of plants start to mutate with the local species, and they start to create all of these weird and wacky creatures and subspecies and whatnot. And even though it's kind of slimy and kind of gross around here, it's turned out real beautiful. I particularly love how the biological aspect of the base is sort of fused into the mechanical aspect of it, right? We have these sci-fi buildings lodged in between this highly biologically alive world, and it turned out way better than I envisioned. I didn't ever think that the base would eventually look like this. I only had it mildly in my mind what it might end up looking like, and I'm just so proud of how it's turned out. It's magnificent. I think one of the few things that I would have liked to finish is our storage facility. We only ever ended up using one of the rooms in this massive facility, but I kind of overestimated how much space I actually needed for materials. But the building itself turned out really, really nicely, I think. And it was kind of like the second last build that we did to finish the lore of the base. And I think it works really, really nicely with the deatomizer. You know, we deatomize the material and we store it in here, and it's all connected via these really cool energy cables. And it all makes perfect sense in my own little nerdy brain. Whether it makes sense in your brains or not, I suppose, is another question. But yes, another one of my favorite parts of the base is this massive mycelium grove back here, which I just recently finished adding detail to. And very strange combination of Minecraft blocks. Some of the weirder plant types and corals and colors and shapes and spores and particles. It's all here. I mean, we pretty much have every single particle in the game in these biomes. We have cherry blossom particles. We have fireflies. We have mycelium, which has its own particle effects. You can see there. There's a mycelium particle. I think the only particle we're missing at this point is ender chest particulification, but yes, wherever we go, there is spores, and that's all that I ever wanted to achieve in this space. Or at least is one of my primary goals, was to make sure that there was just spores everywhere, because it makes it feel alien to me. It makes it feel otherworldly. And yeah, it turned out real nice. Oh, I almost forgot to show you guys something. I was about to start wrapping up the episode here and starting to talk about the Genesis block, which we'll get to in a second. But guys, there's one more thing that I finished a couple of days ago. I completely forgot about it. I did it. I actually did it. It took me a while to get to it, and I left it for the last freaking minute. But I did actually build for us a GigaCorp-inspired portal in our Nether hub. And there it is, in all of its magnificence. It's just a tiny little GigaCorp depot, very similar to the depots in the shopping district. And, well, if you don't see that as GigaCorp when you download the world and you want to come and look at my base, I don't know what to tell you. That's about as obvious as it gets. I try to make it not, like, really massive, but from wherever you look at it here in the Nether hub, it's kind of right in the middle, right there next to the spawn portal too. But yeah, a nice little homage to GigaCorp here in our immaculate BOO Nether hub. And it looks really, really sweet. Got some smoke coming out of it too, and oh man, it's I don't know, it's starting to hit me in the feels now. Now that I see this, I can feel the end coming. It's just around the corner. I want to keep recording. We've been going for like 30 minutes non-stop. We can do a bit more, right, guys? We can do a bit more. Why not? We can hang out and do a little bit more. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna go for a nice long walk from this side of the base all of the way to the other side of the base as the sun sets over here, and we're going to get a nice solid feel for the base on foot. Now, if you've made it to the end of this video, I'd like to take the opportunity to sincerely thank each and every one of you for watching my videos here on YouTube and my streams on Twitch, and just allowing me to go completely crazy with whatever this happened to turn out being in my HermitCraft Season 10. It's been a roller coaster of a season for me, And in fact, it's been a roller coaster of a couple of years for me since, I don't know, since 2020 or so. It's been a wild, wild ride for the Rendog Dog. You see, I've gone from being a very large YouTube channel to being a very small YouTube channel. And I will admit, as a YouTuber and just as a human being, it's been quite a difficult thing to come to terms with. Quite a difficult reality to understand and accept. And it's certainly been a battle that I have been fighting throughout Season 10. You know, often days I've woken up and wondered what happened. Where did all the viewers go? It must be me. I must be doing something wrong. I must be making terrible videos or making, you know, bad streams or something. Because what else is the reason? Of course, there is no reason. There is no tangible reason why these things happen. They just do. And the longer you spend racking your brains trying to work out why things have changed, the further and further into darkness I think you end up being as a YouTuber or a streamer. That's not to say that, of course, I don't worry about it and I don't get very, very concerned. And I know that some of you share this concern too. And it's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you guys right now at the end of the episode, because it's those of you who have made it to this point in the episode who have been such strong supporters and fans of me over many, many years, or maybe even just recently. And you all, I'm sure, as I've seen in comments throughout my Season 10, are concerned that my views are dropping and I don't get as many views as I used to and all of those sort of things. And I just want to let you guys know, while that is true, and of course, while it is concerning to some extent, I have come to find peace in that I know that there is a very large number of you out there that absolutely love the work that I do and love the worlds that we together create. Because without you, there is no me. And without me, I can't be creating worlds for you. And so we have this weird symbiotic relationship going. And even in those darkest moments where I sort of looked at the views that I used to get and look at the views that I now get, and a sudden wave of panic and flushes over me and my ego takes a massive hit, all it takes is for me to remind myself that you guys who are watching this right now and me who is making this for you right now, together we are doing something extremely special. And something that, when all of this eventually comes to an end for me, I will never forget. So, my dearest viewers, as we head into Season 11 and into 2026 and into the future of the Rendog channel on YouTube and on Twitch, I am extremely excited and optimistic about what we're going to achieve together. And my motivation lies solely in producing as good quality videos and streams as I can for you guys. And if that results in me being able to do this full time for as long as it lasts, then that is how it's going to be. And we are not going to be worrying about anything else other than having as good a time together here on YouTube and on Twitch as possible. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing you all again in Season 11 of HermitCraft and in all the other weird and wonderful side series that we do throughout the year. Very much looking forward to going through all of that with you once again and experiencing the highs and the lows and the in-betweens and all the things that come with this crazy, crazy world of, the internet media. And of course, lastly, as we come toward the end of the base here, all the way near the scootball field, I do want to take a very quick moment to say a big thank you to everybody behind the scenes in the Rendog world. You know who you are. All of you moderators in my social medias, all of you Discord mods, my Twitch mods, my fan server mods, my Patreons, all of you out there who work autonomously to keep the Rendog world alive. I am extremely and forever grateful for every single minute that you put into the worlds that have come from this weird South African man that makes videos on YouTube. Because without you guys, none of those different communities and none of those things would exist. And I'm very grateful for all of the Rendog staff across all of the different things in which they exist. And I thank you all so much for your dedication to good old Rendog and all the weirdness and the wonderfulness that has come forth into the world because of our work here on YouTube and on Twitch. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, and so has Season 10. In some ways, I am incredibly sad to leave this world and to leave GigaCorp, of course, because this was a thing that I came up with in my own brain many years ago, all the way starting in Season 7, I believe. And we brought it to full fruition here in Season 10 by building a perfect example of a GigaCorp colony. And I don't think I could have done this better. It's one of the most detailed bases that I've ever made, and one of the things that I'm most proud of creating in my life to date. The fact that it's been so inspirational for so many of you guys, and the fact that I managed to actually get it done and stay motivated despite all the things and all the challenges and whatnots. I managed to get this done. And not only done, but done to the best of my freaking ability. And, well, that being said, we've got one more little bit of lore to finish off here as the sun rises above HC-10. And that, of course, is the Genesis block. What is this all about? Well, once a GigaCorp colony has established itself on a planet, it needs to tap in to the very coded essence core of that planet. Let's not forget that we are living here in a digital world, and the Gigaverse itself is, of course, digital. And within the Gigaverse is all the millions of Minecraft worlds that have ever been created. And any of those worlds could be visited by GigaCorp at any moment. And when GigaCorp visits a planet, it needs to fully understand the world. It needs to decode its very essence. And that's why we go and collect the Genesis block. And that is why the Genesis block is finally, after a planet is established and the ECC-1 is created, the Genesis block is placed directly in the center of the energy deatomizer core. And with the very soul of planet HC-10 plugged into the energy core conduit, this facility has now become one with this planet. And everything that we would ever need to know about this planet is currently being understood, databased, and stored for all future GigaCorp visitors here on planet HC-10. And as the sun rises for the very last time above this wonderful colony project that we've been working together for the last year and a half, it's finally time to say goodbye for the very last time from Season 10. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I can't wait to pick up the Rendog story again with all of you there in Season 11. So long, GigaCorp, and thanks for all the space rats.